Hey everybody, so I'm gonna jump right into this. On social media, in the news, it's all over the place. What is going on in our world? Because it seems majority of the news outlets, social media, videos that are being put out there all involve Israel, the nation of Israel. You have people for Israel, you have people against Israel. Now, I'm going to look at this through the psychological lens or the spiritual lens to get a deeper understanding of what's going on in our times, because definitely we are living in prophetic times, Jewish prophetic times. So I'm going to begin reading this so we get an understanding of what the prophet Isaiah is talking about here. So it says, starting with Isaiah chapter 49, verse 3, and said to me, Thou art my servant, Israel, or Israel, in whom I will be glorified. So I'm going to explain this to you. God, God's servant is Israel, the nation of Israel. God created the nation of Israel. God created the Jewish nation. We have to first and foremost understand this, that God created the nation of Israel, the Jewish nation of today, back then, and the same is for today. So the prophet is saying that God is saying through him or to him that Israel is his servant, and through them, God is going to be glorified. Through the Jewish nation, God is going to be glorified to who? To the non-Jewish nations of the world. And let's read the next verse. Then I said, I have labored in vain, I have spent my strength for naught and in vain, yet surely my strength or my judgment is with the Lord, and my reward is with my God. And now says the Lord that formed me from the womb to be his servant, to bring Yaakov back to him, that Israel should be gathered to him. And I was honored in the eyes of the Lord, and my God was my strength. And he said, and God said, it is too slight a thing that thou shalt be my servant to raise up the tribe of Yaakov and to restore the preserved of Israel or Israel. I will also give thee for a light to the nations, that my salvation shall may be to the end of the earth. Through the holy nation of Israel, or through the Jewish nation, God is going to use them as the light to the nations. What that means is that the Jewish nation is going to teach the non-Jewish nations about their God, so that his salvation, his restoration, may spread throughout the earth to reach the non-Jewish nations who would eventually return back to him, God. So with that established, we have to understand what's going on in the news. We have to understand the social videos that we're watching, and there's so many biblical scholars that are making videos now. There's Muslim scholars, Christian scholars, atheists, Christian scholars who became atheists, and they're attacking the Jewish Bible, the Jewish religion, which is contradictory, and I'll tell you why. I'll explain this right now, because what these scholars aren't telling you, and if you're a Christian, if you're a Muslim, they're not telling, your teachers are not telling you that their religion, Christianity and Islam, was created by people who misappropriated the Jewish faith, the Jewish Bible, and made this into the Christian religion with all of its denominations, including Messianic Judaism and the religion of Islam. They're not telling you the truth. And their whole purpose, like I said, is to discredit the Jewish nation, to discredit the rabbis, the Jewish Torah scholars of Israel. And that is wrong, but I can see right through the darkness. I can see right through the lies, and I can see the truth, and I want to share this truth with you so that you will begin to understand what's going on. Why in the news is Israel being projected as the bad, as bad people? Think about it. You have a country of people, and they attack civilians of Israel, and they did barbaric things to these people, and up to today, there's still 50 hostages in these tunnels of Hamas that they built, and they're holding them as ransom. And now Israel retaliated and said, hey, we want our hostages back, and we're going to destroy Hamas. And now the news is saying that Israel's in the wrong. So that's contradictory, and the news outlets, it's filled with propaganda and it's deceptive. Why are people attacking the Jewish nation? Why are people being told to attack the Jewish nation? Physically, psychologically, emotionally, spiritually? Because if you're not researching the Bible, you're not figuring out for yourself that these are people that are against the Jewish nation. And not only the Jewish nation, they're against the God of the Jewish nation. And keep in mind, these people had created long time ago their own religion of Christianity and Islam by misappropriating the Jewish religion. So I just wanted to share this with everybody and give the biblical foundation for this video that the prophet Isaiah is writing down for the reader to understand that the nation of Israel is the servant of God, and their role in creation, their whole existence is to be a light to the nations, meaning they are to be priests, teachers of the Torah, teachers of God to the non-Jewish nation. All these nations that are scattered across the world are to be taught by the Jewish nation. And that's why we have people in the news, on social media, making videos, attempting to use their biblical scholarly credentials to discredit the Jewish nation. And it's a form of, it's a sin, it's theft, it's robbery. These people are stealing the truth away from me and you. That's what they're doing. They're misleading us to be against the God of the Jewish nation. Like always, we have to be founded in the Bible. We have to go back into the scriptures. And today, sadly, the Bible translations are inaccurate, so I always encourage people to begin learning how to read biblical Hebrew, Aramaic, Greek, and Latin. But when it comes to the Jewish Bible, when you learn the Hebrew language, then you'll understand that you're going to need a Jewish rabbi or a Jewish Torah scholar to teach you how to read the Bible and to understand, to get the definitions of the words and to look at the Hebrew grammar, because that's the way God designed his Jewish Bible. You could be like these biblical scholars. You're not Jewish, you don't have Jewish education, you go to a university, you go to a college to get this degree, because that's the material world that they're from. Hey, look at me, I'm a biblical scholar because I have credentials, so that means you have to listen to me. And people are psychological slaves, so what do they think and say to themselves? Yes, I'm going to agree with you because you went into, you have credentials in our system. You went to a college and university. Why would you lie? But that's exactly the facade. They're weaponizing their credentials to be, and they're weaponizing their credentials. It's a facade, but it's a weapon, a spiritual weapon, to mislead you to think that they're reliable, and then they feed you nothing but lies. Lie after lie after lie after lie. And next thing you know, you're upset, you're angry, you're emotional, you're irrational, and you're attacking the nation of Israel. What's crazy is that the Christian scholars that become atheists, now I think they have good reason behind all the abuses in the church. Okay, I'm gonna put that out there so you guys can understand where I'm coming from. So I think that the atheist scholars have foundation to be atheists because of the abuses of the church. But what I don't understand, it's like their mind is blocked and they can't critically think beyond this threshold. And behind this threshold, if they would critically think, why not go inquire with the Jewish rabbis? Why not go inquire with the Jewish Torah teachers? Why not? If I spend all this time in my life, energy, money, effort, go to universities, colleges to study theology, non-Jewish theology about the Bible, and I found out that it was wrong, and now I'm an atheist, I don't believe in any God. They should have at some point critically think and crossed over that threshold to go inquire about the Bible with the Jewish religion, because these people, these scholars, they have the education, they know in their own text that there's a connection between, it's really the New Testament and the Quran. There's a connection to the Jewish Bible. And I'm not saying to prove that these religions are correct. It's in a bad way. But there's a connection that would teach them the origins of their religion, and their religious texts are based on the Jewish texts. That's what they should be critically thinking about and crossing that threshold to go and inquire with the Jewish rabbis. But they don't, because they're biased, and their whole intention is to mislead viewers with an ulterior motive to hate the Jewish nation. Now, what happens when you hate the Jewish nation? Well, Hashem, the God of Israel, protects the Jewish nation, especially today, because we're living in prophetic times. The end of the days is what we're living in. And I don't want to mislead you and scare you and make you think that the end of the days is that the world's going to end. No, what that means is, in Jewish thought, is that the King Messiah, the real King Messiah, is about to surface in the world, and he's going to bring basically a global utopia in the world, and people are going to acknowledge the God of Israel, and we're all going to serve God through the Jewish nation, and eventually there's going to be the resurrection of the dead for the righteous people who critically think and crossed over that threshold, that psychological threshold, to go and inquire, like to humble themselves and to go inquire with the rabbis and the Jewish scholars to learn about the truth of God. Is God even real? Which logically, like I said, people should be deducing logically that there's a connection between their religion and the Jewish religion, since their religions talk about the Jewish nation and the Jewish people over and over and over and over, right? Like today, Jesus went from being white, black, Chinese, Asian, Native American, Mexican, Arabic, all that, and now he's Jewish. These are psychological messages that God is sending into the world to prompt us, to motivate us, to cause curiosity in our mind, to critically think and to critically cross over the threshold, to humble ourselves and to go inquire about the reality of God and the reality of the New Testament and the reality of the Quran and the reality of Hinduism. Hinduism is even connected to Judaism. And keep in mind, Judaism is the smallest religion out of these three major religions. The first religion that came from Judaism was Hinduism. But Hinduism didn't misappropriate their spiritual texts. There's a part there's a place in the Bible, in the Old Testament, in the Torah, where we read that Abraham sent his descendants, his children, from Hagar to the east and gave them gifts. These are spiritual gifts. So this is on the level of Kabbalah, is how the religion of Hinduism is related to Judaism. The next major religion that comes after that, that's 1100 BCE when Hinduism was created, and the next religion that comes after this religion, this next major religion is the religion of Christianity that comes, as we all know, in the first century CE, and then Islam comes 600 years after the Christian religion era. So those are the origins of these religions. So keep in mind, if you're not willing to study the Bible at this point, it seems like everybody in the world should be, because, like I said, the Jewish nation is in the news and they're being portrayed as the bad people. There's just, I want to highlight the attention that's being drawn towards the Jewish nation. And I want to point out too, it's God. It's the God of the Jewish nation who's actually in control of all this. He's exposing his Jewish nation, and then you have rabbis teaching non-Jewish people like us about the Torah and about the Jewish Bible. You have Jewish Torah educators who are teaching us about the reality of God. And what are we supposed to do? Most importantly, what are we supposed to be doing in our lives, right? We're supposed to be following the 7 Noahide commandments that are founded in the Bible. So I just wanted to share this with everybody. I'm out of here. Y'all have a good one. Until my next video, smash like, subscribe for my new content.